Good morning, dear colleagues, dear friends. My name is Laurent Bochereau. I work at the delegation of the European Union to the Russian Federation, and it is my pleasure and honor to open this event today, which has been prepared in cooperation with the Russian Ministry of Science and Higher Education and our colleagues in the European Commission Directorate General for Research and Innovation. The aim of this event today is to present the new Horizon Europe program, which is the successor of the Horizon 2020 program. It is the new multi-annual research and innovation program for the EU that will run until 2027. The event today is very timely because yesterday we held the annual meeting of the Joint Committee under the EU-Russia Science and Technology Cooperation Agreement. And next week, we will be launching the first call for proposal under Horizon Europe. After opening words by the Ministry of Science and Higher Education, we will have the privilege to listen to Christina Russo, the Director for International Cooperation. She will present the renewed European International Strategy on Research and Innovation called the Global Approach to Research and Innovation. We will then hear from Richard Berger, whom many of you know because he worked many years here at the delegation. He will present the structure of Horizon Europe, the novelties in relation to Horizon 2020, and the specific opportunities for Russian scientists to take part. We will then have two testimonials from leading Russian scientists who are involved in successful Horizon 2020 projects. Dr. Krasilnikov, the Dean of the Faculty of Soil Science at the Lomonosov Moscow State University, and Dr. Leonid Popilev, who is the director of the Nansen International Environmental and Remote Sensing Center in St. Petersburg. We will then finally hear from Irina Kuklina about the various funding opportunities that would exist from the Russian side to support Russian scientists involved in Horizon Europe projects. With this, I would like to pass on my co-moderator, Irina Kuklina. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Laurent. Good morning, good evening to all the participants. Since we know that we have several hundreds of participants across Russia and Europe. My name is Irina Kuklina. I'm Executive Director of the International Center for Innovations for Science, Technology and Education. I will be joining Laurent for moderating this session, and I would like to give the floor to the Deputy Director of the International Department of the Ministry for Science and Higher Education, Viktor Smirnov. Viktor, the floor is yours.
Thank you, and thank you, Irina. Thank you, Laurent. Distinguished participants of the webinar, dear colleagues, friends whom we do not see, but I hope, we know some of you, at least we know each other. And if we don't, so I'm sure we'll be able to help you in a different way during your scientific research or scientific organizations. On behalf of the Ministry of Science and Higher Education of the Russian Federation, I would like to greet all of you and at today's webinar. It's really quite an important event for at least for most of the scientists who is involved in the joint programs with the international community, in particular with the European Union, since you would know how we can cooperate within the new program that's in the European Union Horizon Europe, and the Russian new state program Scientific and Technological Development of the Russian Federation, and also how to use the national project science and universities. But that would be later explained to you by our colleagues. Our government supports the need of research and academic communities and scientific communities that we do our best to create networks in advanced world-class research and educational centers. We do provide a high level of material, technical, and instrumental base for domestic organizations engaged in breakthrough research and development. And also we try to make the favorable conditions for researchers to cooperate not only with the colleagues in other countries, but also within the Russian Federation. The European Union continues to remain an important partner of the Russian Federation in science and technology. And how can I say, to confirm that, Laurent mentioned that we had yesterday a joint committee. That's our annual meeting when we consider the results which we achieved within the year. In spite of last year, we had this pandemic limitations, and we had some problems with the projects with joint scientific research, but still we had been quite successful in that. And the Ministry of Science and Higher Education of the Russian Federation intends to continue financial support, first of all, under the new program mechanisms and initiatives, which will be actually presented, as I mentioned, later today during the event. And this mechanism helps our researchers to interact with foreign, including European partners, and produce new technologies towards the well-being of our countries and people. Dear participants, I encourage you to see new opportunities and follow the goals for expanding our partnerships. I believe that today's meeting will be very useful for you and will make a significant contribution to the scientific and technological cooperation between Russia and the European Union. Thanks for your attention, and I wish you the productive work, and hope you will be well informed, and that will be really useful for your future cooperation and for joint project with the European Union. Good luck, and well, take care during that not so easy time with the COVID-19. Hope that you and your families and all around you are well, and that would help not only for you, but also for our scientific operation, because the sick scientists cannot do anything like sick any other persons in the daily life, but in the science, it's a really a very serious thing. Like we had some problems with some project last year, where when scientific organization had been closed, our partners could not work. So I hope you are well, and it would serve our mutual cooperation and mutual benefit. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Victor, for your very positive and encouraging words. So we will have now further presentations. We will not take questions after each of the presentation. We will wait for the last presentation by Irina Kuklina. Please send your question either in English or Russian. We have colleagues following this chat both on the Zoom platform and the YouTube platform, and we will collect this and address the question to the relevant panelists at the end of the presentations. So without any further ado, I would like now to give the floor to Christina Russo, the Director for the Global Approach at the DG Research and Innovation in the European Commission. Christina, the floor is yours. You need to unmute, Christina.
Excuse me, it was not a good start. Now you can hear me. Anyway, my words were about thanking you all very much and giving you a good morning to all of you from Brussels. First of all, let me thank Laurent Bouchereau, our EU Science Counselor in the Russian Federation, for having organized this event, together with the Ministry of Science and Higher Education of the Russian Federation. And of course, my thanks to Victor and Irina for the work. And of course, to Richard Barger, who was our science counselor in Moscow, and now is working in Brussels dealing with Russia, and also making it possible that our cooperation with Russia continues to be very fruitful, our scientific and technological cooperation. I'm very pleased today to be here for the launch of the European Union's new framework program for research and innovation, Horizon Europe. Horizon Europe is the biggest research and innovation program in the world. It's a program which brings with it 95 billion of euros, and it is completely open to the participation of scientists from outside Europe. And the fact that we are having this event here after a very successful joint steering committee meeting that, as it was mentioned by Victor, we held yesterday, means really the importance that we attach to scientific cooperation with the Russian Federation. And therefore, I'm very happy to see that so many participants are following this event. And I really hope that today's event will be very useful for all of you in order to have all the information about the possibilities of cooperating with the European Union and with the other world leaders in science and technology through the Horizon Europe program. Now, I would like to set and explain the overall policy context of the European Union approach to international cooperation in research and innovation. And this is very important because knowing the policy context will make the EU research and innovation program better understood. First of all, as it was mentioned by Laurence Bouchereau, we have issued new policy guidelines that we call communication in the language we use in the European Commission on a global approach to research and innovation. This global approach to research and innovation marks the new strategy for international cooperation in a changing world. The strategy is very important because it underpins the opening of the Horizon Europe program and lays the foundation for this very broad cooperation that we want to have with all countries outside Europe and with all the researchers outside Europe. We want to strengthen through this new strategy the European Union's cooperation with the other parts of the world, and we want to adapt this cooperation to the mutual interest of ourselves, of the European Union, and the strategic partners that we have. Speaking about policy context, I would like to recall that the European Union has adopted overall policy guidelines on the EU-Russian relations 2 days ago. And in these overall policy guidelines, which look at all the spectrum of the cooperation, research and innovation does have a very important place because research and innovation is really a building block of our cooperation with the Russian Federation. Now, our strategy, our global approach, which are the main elements? The main elements is that, as I mentioned, we want to be open. We want to have a global openness, which is aimed at driving excellence, pooling resources, and developing vibrant innovation ecosystems. We want to have this openness, and we want also to be able to have some limitations in our cooperation when the EU strategic interest or fundamental values are could be jeopardized. And this is why, within the broader landscape of an openness approach, we have the possibilities to have some limitations in order to safeguard our interests. This, the question of safeguarding the European interest and seeking a mutual interest, because again, we have to cooperate, we have to work together to tackle global scientific challenges in the interest of all the parties. It is also linked to the fact that in the new strategy, we give much more importance to reciprocity and to the level playing field for cooperation. And their level playing field for cooperation means also setting the right framework conditions for cooperation, meaning like that we have an open program, we open it to the participation of scientists and researchers from other countries, and we would like to have the same treatment by the other countries which are our partners, and also the guarantees for this opening to be effective. And in this respect, I would like really to highlight the very, very good cooperation that we have with the Ministry of Science and Higher Education of the Russian Federation. Especially very important for us is that the willingness that the Russian Federation have to participate in the Horizon, to allow the researchers from Russia to participate to Horizon Europe, makes brings to the fact that a specific co-funding mechanism has been put in place by the Ministry of Science and Higher Education of the Russian Federation in order to financially support those researchers from Russia which are selected to participate in the projects under Horizon Europe. And for that, I really want to thank our colleagues from the Ministry of Science and Higher Education for having worked in order to put this co-funding mechanism in place. Now, getting back to the communication on the global approach for research and innovation, as I mentioned, from a policy point of view, we want to pursue the openness of our cooperation. We want to pursue reciprocity, level playing field. We want to also promote our values and principles, and also be able, when needed, to have some limitations when the sectors which put in question EU's interests are at stake. The second important point that I would like to highlight about the global approach communication is that we really want that through research and innovation, we strengthen the European Union role in multilateral initiatives and partnerships to address common challenges. And we want to do that in order to pursue the key objectives that the European Union has, which at present are specifically the support of what we call the twin transition, a transition which is green and a digital transformation. And of course, we do also want to support all the endeavors that we are taking in order to promote global health. I was very pleased yesterday during the Joint Steering Committee meeting of scientific cooperation between the EU and the Russian Federation, that, as mentioned, I had the honor to co-chair, to see that the green transition is a key priority of the Russian Federation too, and we have discussed possibilities to specific having cooperation activities in the field of research and innovation related to the green transition. Let me also highlight that an important dimension of the global approach is the support and promotion of innovation cooperation. Innovation as a cross-cutting element which underpins those priorities that I mentioned. And again, I was very happy that yesterday, during the Joint Steering Committee meeting, we had the occasion to discuss possibilities for enhancing the cooperation between EU and the Russian Federation, also in relation to innovation. There are important examples that I could give of those multilateral initiatives that we have already set up in the EU and that have been successful. I will not be too long in my intervention, but for example, I would like to highlight Mission Innovation. Mission Innovation is an important global initiative which aims at boosting up investment in research, development and demonstration to make clean energy affordable, attractive and accessible for all. This is a very successful initiative, a good example of a multilateral initiative that brings really research and innovation at the core, not only of the scientific development, but also of our global action. And these are the kind of alliances and partnerships that we want to promote. And then the third element of the communication, we spoke about openness and values, reciprocity and level playing field. The second element, the promotion of those global alliances in research and innovation. And the third element is the fact of having a cooperation which is really tailor-made to the strategic and mutual interest that we have with our key partners in the world. And there, let me highlight that for us, the Russian Federation is a key partner. I already said it, it's a key partner both from a scientific point of view, but also from the point of view of how much research and innovation is really a positive element in our agenda of cooperation. And this is clearly indicated in the communication. And there we really want to develop the possibilities that we have to further strengthen our activities. We discussed yesterday during the Joint Steering Committee meeting, and the event of today will give you clear indication of which are these possibilities and how you, the scientific community in the Russian Federation, can fully tap into these possibilities. Now, I would like to say also that the European Union, as you all know, it is composed by certainly the European institutions. We are the European Commission and its member states. We have 27 member states, and each of them have also a research policy, and some of them are bigger, some less big, but they have a bilateral cooperation with the countries outside Europe, including with the Russian Federation. And what we want to do in order to be really effective, we want to coordinate much more the activities of the European Commission with its member states in order to really have a joint approach towards international cooperation. And that is with the aim of maximizing the impact of what we do, and also of pooling together more financial resources. And in this context, we would like to follow the Team Europe approach, which is an approach which we have been following in order to face the COVID crisis, and we call it Team Europe, which means the European institutions, its member states, but also the financial institutions, the EU financial institutions together, also with the aim of mobilizing private funding for supporting research and innovation. These are the main elements of the communication. I will not go into further details because you will have really detailed information that will follow. I would just like to finish my intervention by really saying how happy I am to be in this event, how important is for us research and innovation cooperation between the European Union and the Russian Federation, and how grateful I am to all the colleagues and friends, if you allow me, Irina and Victor, from the Ministry of Science and Higher Education of the Russian Federation for the support that we have, and of course to our Science Council, Laurent Bouchereau, and our great colleague, Richard Barger, for all the efforts that have been put in order to make this cooperation flourishing as much as possible. And I hope that with the launching of Horizon Europe, we could further improve the very successful score that we had with the previous research programs in terms of successful projects where Russian scientists have working together with European ones on research and innovation issues. With that, I wish you a very good seminar, a very good event, and thank you very much for your attention.
Well, thank you very much, Christina. We're also very happy that you could be with us today. You mentioned Team Europe, and we'd like to announce that we work together with the colleagues in the various embassies here in Moscow from the EU member states, and we produced what we call a compendium of all the programs that exist, not only at EU level, Horizon Europe and Erasmus, but also at the Russian Federation level, the many programs that exist. And the EU member states, we have 16 member states who contributed, and this compendium will be put online today. It's a first version. We have 16 countries, we may have more, and associated countries later will be added, probably later at the end of the year. With this, Christina, I know you have a very busy agenda and that you need to leave us. We'd like to thank you again for being with us for the opening, and wish you a great day, and let you leave for your other important meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, I would like to ask Richard, who has the big task today to present Horizon Europe, which is a new program. There is a lot of continuity with Horizon 2020, but there are a number of novelties. Some of them are still in the making, so we will not probably have all the answers today to the many questions that could be asked, but we will do our best to highlight those new novelties, also because the first call will be published next week. So I think it is one of the first such events we organize outside the EU towards Russia. So it's a very strong signal to the Russian community that we really count on you to be part of the first wave of proposals. So Richard, the floor is yours. You will use a presentation, I think.
Yes, thank you very much, Laurent. Thank you very much, Irina. Thanks to all the other colleagues who've been instrumental in organizing this event today. Indeed, Laurent, as you say, it's one of our first presentation events for and about Horizon Europe outside the European Union, and this is testimony to the importance that we give to science and technology cooperation with the Russian Federation, with our friends and colleagues in Russia. It's very nice actually to be here today and see look at the list of participants and receive messages by WhatsApp and by Telegram from people who are watching this event on YouTube. And to understand that there are many individuals and persons and institutions and organizations who have for a long time, for many years, in one way or another, cooperated with their counterparts in the European Union, or at least have some other interests in working and working with them. So it's really very encouraging and pleasant to see this vibrant community of colleagues and friends that has been with us for many years. Now, Laurent, you mentioned it. It's a monumental task to try to present the program, the new European Union research program, within the time that we have, 40 minutes. The program is quite large. It's complex. So what we're trying to do today with this event is to show to you the main elements, to point towards the continuities with the previous program, which many of you know, Horizon Europe, but also to highlight some of the differences. And I would like to say that we're also very grateful that Irina Kuklina is going to make a complementary presentation a little bit later on today, explaining to us how the implementation of the Horizon Europe program in Russia and how the participation possibilities in the program will be possible thanks to the cooperative mechanisms and complementary funding that is available in the Russian Federation. So the two presentations should really be seen as complementary and as one package today. With this, I will start sharing my screen. and I would like to call upon all of you to collect the questions that you will have, so that we can try to address them to the extent possible in the question and answer session later today. Okay, I just see host disabled participant screen sharing, but I'm not a participant, I'm a panelist, so it should be possible for me to share my screen. I'm trying to share my screen and I get a message, host disabled participant screen sharing.
Yes, we're very sorry. Nana, could you please allow Richard to share the screen?
Not yet.
Nana, are you here? Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing
now
you.
It seems to work.
I tried to do that.
Thank you. It
Okay.
seems to work. It seems to work now. Thank you very much.
Sorry. Thank you.
No worries. Here we go. Can everybody see this now? I guess that some parts of the screens are blocked out by black squares. Is that correct?
Indeed.
Yeah. Then I have to somehow make this disappear. I'm not quite sure how that's gonna work. Are parts of the screen still blocked out?
Yes, but not the most important one.
Not quite sure how to
It's
disable
getting worse. Okay, just leave it at that. It's fine. It looks okay.
I think at the top of the screen you have a black bar, and
yes,
I'm not quite sure. This is Zoom telling me that I'm sharing the screen, and I'm not sure how I can disable that.
Richard, I think right now the top one does not makes any difference, but
yeah,
you can take away the middle black part will be good. Yeah. With that it will be good to see the presentation.
Absolutely, perfectly fine.
Okay, I apologize for that. I simply don't know how to deactivate that, because it's simply Zoom telling me I'm sharing my screen and I'm not sure how to disable that. So I apologize for that. And we can start. I hope it's not too disruptive. Now, yeah, okay. Horizon Europe, our director Christina Russo already mentioned it. The single largest publicly funded program to support and finance research and innovation activities. The current program in a long series of so-called European Union framework programs for research and innovation. I will not read necessarily what's on the slides. I will try to explain and interpret it in my own words for everybody's benefit. I should like to add that, and that's an important element, and this complements the information which our colleague Laurent just provided to you about the compendium on research and innovation cooperation between the European Union and the Russian Federation. The EU framework program for research and innovation, Horizon Europe, such as Horizon 2020, is an EU-level program. It is complementary to, it is different from and complementary to, it is additional to the many programs for research and innovation for science and technology cooperation, which exist at the level of the EU member states. So we have a panoply of different instruments at our disposal. The national level programs at the level of the member states, and the EU level program Horizon Europe. The pan-Europeanness of this program, the fact that it's a pan-European program, is expressed essentially in two ways. First of all, the calls for proposals, the invitations to submit proposals or applications are being done at the level of the European Union and, as was already mentioned, are open to the world. And that makes the program different from programs at the level of the member states, first. And secondly, in many parts of the program, projects are to be implemented by consortia. of participants, not by single entities, but by consortia, partnerships of different participants. The basic rule of which being that there should be 3 different participants from 3 different countries of the European Union or countries that are associated with it. The program is called upon to support the European Union's international commitments and to support the European Union's competitiveness and growth and economic and societal development. And we intend to do this in partnership with countries around the world whenever this is in our common interest and for mutual benefit. Here we are showing to you a schematic description of Horizon Europe. Those of you who are familiar with Horizon 2020 will see that the basic structure of the program has not changed. It is divided into 3 broad pillars, pillar 1, 2, and 3, and contains a number of cross-cutting elements which are summarized by the name widening participation and strengthening the European research area. The 3 pillars are can broadly be described as excellent science, whereby the program will provide support to greenfield research, blue sky research, the development of the basic infrastructure which is necessary to ensure top-notch and excellent scientific research by means of support to research infrastructures. Pillar 2, global challenges, broadly will be devoted to supporting research and innovation activities to address major global and societal challenges and to support key horizontal cross-cutting strategic technologies. Pillar 3 will be devoted mostly to providing a boost, providing support to activities which support the innovative character of the European economy. And we'll come back to that later on. The program has a budget of about 95.5 billion euros for the 7-year period 2021 to 2027, not including the separate Euratom Horizon Europe program. As you can see, about a bit more than half the budget will be devoted to what is called Pillar 2 of the program, addressing to global and major societal challenges. And a significant part of the program, a quarter, will be devoted to Pillar 1, excellent science, including the 3 parts that are well known to many of you who participate today: the European Research Council grants, the Marie Skłodowska-Curie mobility, scientific mobility actions, as well as supports to the development of European of research infrastructures. I will not say much about the policy-making progress that is going on behind the scenes to develop the program, other than to say that the program is, if you like, owned not by the European Union alone, but by the European Union and its member states, and by the many scientific and industrial stakeholders of the program. So the development of this program is, of course, a complex, multi-levered and multi-layered process, which involves a lot of consultation with the various stakeholders and our attempts to draw the lessons, the practical lessons from the implementation of our previous programs. If we turn, and here I think the black bar at the top does disturb you, and I'll try to move it. If we look at an overview of the participation of Russia in the previous framework program in Horizon 2020, I think one thing that we see is, what we're showing here actually is the success rate of proposals that include partners from specific countries. So what we've done here, we list the major so-called third country partners around the world. In other words, countries that are not part of the European Union and are not associated to the European Union Framework Programme for Research and Innovation, and who are the most active in terms of participation in our program. And what is particularly striking and encouraging, I should say, is that Russia is head and shoulders above all other so-called third country participants of the program in terms of its success rate. In other words, the likelihood of passing the evaluation and selection procedure in the very competitive Horizon 2020 program for proposals with Russian participants, in which Russian partners participated, was a very impressive 28.4%, I think it was, which is almost double the average success rate in Horizon 2020, which I think tells us something about the quality of the proposals that were developed and submitted to Horizon 2020 in the past with Russian participants. So that, I think, bodes very well for the future. We're showing here roughly how participation of partners from Russia in proposals and projects that were selected in the various parts of Horizon 2020, the predecessor program, panned out. We have a particularly strong participation of partner organizations from the Russian Federation in research infrastructures, which is testimony partly to the support that is being given to the development of mega science projects and other such as centers for joint use centers in Russia and other major facilities in the Russian Federation. We have very good cooperation with Russia in the Euratom part of the program, and of course in the transport part of the program. The transport part of the program, I should say, includes civil aeronautics and civil aviation technologies, in which there have traditionally been very good contacts and very good cooperation between European industry and the key civilian aeronautics R&D centers in Russia. Now we turn towards the structure, the basic structure or description of the main elements of the basic structure of Horizon Europe. A novelty of the program is the so-called European Innovation Council, which has drawn much inspiration from the success of the European Research Council, which supports basic blue sky research without any kind of thematic limitations. The European Innovation Council, in its ideological approach, if you like, if its conceptual approach, has taken inspiration from that and will try by means of various support schemes to give a concerted innovation push in Europe, or potentially in partnership with participants from other parts of the world. It will be, I'm trying to move this up, there will be a number of various grant schemes. I should say that some of the grant schemes that will be offered by the European Innovation Council are so-called mono-beneficiary instruments. In other words, they require the participation of only one entity to be able to be eligible for a grant, in which case participants from third countries such as the Russian Federation would be able to participate as additional partners, but not on their own. I would also like to highlight, as part of the cross-cutting new approaches in Horizon Europe, something that many of you will have heard, so-called missions, which take their inspiration from what was called the moonshot mission of the 1960s, putting a man on the moon. The idea of these missions is really to concentrate, to bundle, to concentrate efforts, funding efforts, and research and innovation efforts, intellectual efforts, in order to try to make a real breakthrough in a number of areas which are key to the future development of our economies and our societies. I hope I can move this now. Yes, the 5 main so-called mission areas which will be addressed relate to what is recognized in and by the European Union as the key global challenge which we all face, namely climate change, and will address measures to adapt to climate change, including the concomitant societal transformation. Another mission area in which we're going to bundle resources is the plight of cancer. A third area is the effort to ensure the healthy development of our ocean, seas, coastal and inland waters. A related mission area related to the first mission on adaptation to climate change will try to ensure climate neutral and smart development of cities, not least in view of the fact that the European Union is a highly urbanized area with much of our economic and societal development taking place in highly densely populated areas. And the fifth mission area pays attention to the development of the sustainable development and healthy development of our soils, health and food. That is the basic infrastructure on which we depend for our daily sustenance. I would also like to turn your attention to another novelty of the program. And this is we're talking at the moment about some of the new features of Horizon Europe as compared to Horizon 2020. You mentioned the European Innovation Council, you mentioned the missions, and now we mentioned the new approach to European partnerships. The European partnerships are major initiatives legally established that bring together both public and private actors, funders, and R&D and industrial entities in order to build what's called public-public and or public-private partnerships. We have had a number of these public-private and public-public partnerships in the past. The Russian Federation has actually participated quite actively in many of them. They were called ERA nets that brought together public research funders, typically industry or foundations from European Union member states and other countries. And from the side of the Russian Federation, we were very pleased to see the active participation of the Russian Foundation for Basic Research, the Russian Foundation to support small innovative enterprises, and of course, the Russian Ministry of Science and Higher Education, as well as the Russian Academy of Sciences, having participated in many of these initiatives in the past. And we hope that in the future, the very good experience that we have all had with the cooperation at the program level between European Union member states funding agencies and Russian Federation funding agencies can be valorized, can be used, and can be reapplied in the context of some of the key new European partnerships that are in the process of formation at the moment. We have listed them here. They encompass a very broad range of different areas and topics. The first batch of such European partnerships has literally just been launched a couple of days ago. And we will certainly be ready and pleased to discuss with our Russian partners which of these partnerships participation may be possible in the future, and in which of them there is interest to do so. broadly, as far as international cooperation is concerned, and here I should add a word of explanation to explain our jargon, if you like, our specific terminology. Of course, the European Union Framework Programme for Research Innovation, Horizon Europe, is by its very nature international. It is not a single country program. It is not a national program. It is by its very nature, by its pan-European nature, an international program. When we use the term international cooperation in the context of the Horizon Europe program, we really mean cooperation with partners, with entities from countries outside the group of countries that are either member states of the European Union or that are formally, that is legally and financially associated to the Horizon Europe program, that is so-called third country partners. This is what we call international cooperation. As we already mentioned a number of times, the good news is that in principle and overall, the general openness of the program for participation by entities from outside the European Union and outside countries that will be associated legally and financially with the program will be maintained. We also plan to, as has been the practice in the past, to announce a number of specifically targeted actions and initiatives, calls for proposals that may have a specific regional or country-based focus. Without giving away too much, I think we can already expect that, as has been the case in the past, that especially in the number of research infrastructures, that is calls for proposals which will offer support, including financial support, to the development or the development of new or the use of existing research infrastructures, that is large-scale research facilities, will include geographically targeted actions as a reflection of the fact and as a reflection of the understanding that the construction, the development, the maintenance, and the use of large-scale research infrastructure facilities is a major effort which usually goes beyond the capacities of a single country or even a region. So this international element will be, I think, particularly characteristic of the calls for proposals, which will be announced in the area of research infrastructures. And this is something that we encourage you to pay specific attention to, but it will also be true in other areas of the program. Another element which is kind of new, is not entirely new, but it is new in terms of the rigor with which it will be applied in Horizon Europe, is the effort to mainstream the concept of open science and open science practices into all elements of the Horizon Europe program. This includes a mandatory requirement for publications which arise from Horizon Europe funded activities to be made available in an open access mode. And it also includes the requirement or the expectation that data arising from projects, not entering, but arising from projects that are going to be funded by Horizon Europe should be made as open as possible and as closed as necessary, based on a mandatory data management plan for what we call in our terminology fair research data, that is data that should be as findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable as possible. The Horizon Europe program will offer a number of instruments, including a publishing platform, which will make it easily possible for participants of Horizon Europe projects to comply with these open science practice requirements. To preempt the question how so-called third countries, that is countries from outside the group of European Union member states and outside the group of countries which are going to be financially and legally associated with the program, how can they participate in Horizon Europe? The participation question usually subdivides into two parts. One is the question about funding, and the other question is about how can we in practice participate? And we will try to answer both questions at the same time, or at least sequentially. First of all, there are some parts of the Horizon Europe program, such as the grants that are going to be offered by the European Research Council, such as grants that are going to be offered to individual scientists as part of the Marie Sklodowska-Curie Scientific Mobility program, that are going to be open to individual researchers, to persons, to real people. Here, the basic rule is the parts of the program are entirely open to researchers, irrespective of the nationality or the citizenship from across the world. They are welcome to participate and are eligible to apply. In most other parts of the program, the rule is that projects or initiatives are to be implemented by consortia, usually consisting of at least 3 different entities, legal entities from 3 different countries of the European Union, or countries that are to be associated to Horizon Europe, and partners from other countries are very welcome to participate as additional partners as well. Now, that is not a particularly strict or a particularly difficult requirement to meet, because most of those projects usually, on average, contain many more participants than just 3. Projects vary in size, both in terms of the financial envelope with which they are being implemented and in terms of the participants, but the average number of participants in such projects is usually much bigger than 3, so this is not a particularly difficult requirement to meet. There are other projects, so-called mono-beneficiary projects, in which the minimum participation may only be 1 entity from a EU member state or a country associated with the framework program, in which case partners from other parts of the world can participate as additional partners. Now, we'll briefly draw your attention to which criteria broadly apply to which parts of the program. The Pillar 1 program is where you will be looking for individual grants offered by the European Research Council and the Marie Sklodowska-Curie Scientific Mobility Actions. And if you're interested in partnering up with counterparts and colleagues and counterpart structures in the European Union or associated countries for projects that are dedicated to the development or the use and maintenance of research infrastructures, that is large-scale research facilities. Pillar 2 will mostly be implemented by means of calls for proposals for multilateral collaborative research and innovation actions, in which the participation requirement is, as just mentioned, just explained, a minimum of 3 organizations from 3 different countries of the European Union, or countries associated with the framework program. Pillar 3, and here we have actually circled Pillar 3 with a blue rather than a green circle, in order to somehow symbolically indicate that the openness of the program in this part, the openness of Horizon Europe, is present, but it is less pronounced, if you like, than in the other 2 pillars, Pillar 1 and Pillar 2. The openness, the basic openness, is maintained. However, there will be more calls for proposals that have a, how shall I put this, a clearer focus on implementation and application in the European Union, and in which partners from outside the European Union and countries associated with the European Union are welcome to participate, but as additional partners rather than as partners of the core consortium. We also want to draw your attention to this part of the cross-country, the horizontal elements of the program. The widening participation and strengthening the European research area parts of the Horizon Europe program are primarily will primarily be dedicated to ensuring a balanced and equitable development of the European Union's research and innovation capacities across its very diverse 27 member states. So they have an intrinsically EU-oriented focus. However, they also include a program which is well known to many of you, the so-called COST program, which since the 1970s has been offering opportunities, including for Russian scientists, to participate, and they have done so very actively, and that will hopefully continue to be the case. So for those of you who are familiar with or who are interested in opportunities for cooperation offered through COST, this is the part, the widening participation, spreading excellence part of the program that you want to turn your attention to. I'd like to say 2 words on, I'd like to differentiate now between Russian scientists and research performing organizations, what we mean by Russian research entities on the one hand, and Russian research funding organizations, that is program level organizations on the other hand, and try to bring out differences between them in terms of the possibilities for them to cooperate with the European counterparts. Russian scientists and research performing organizations, the opportunities that are open to them include individual grants and scholarships under the Marie Skłodowska-Curie Mobility Program, the European Research Council grants, in which they can participate either as grant holders or as host organizations. And in the other parts of the program, in these 2 parts of the program, individuals are eligible for EU funding. That is, individual persons, grant holders are fully eligible for EU funding. In other parts of the program, Russian entities, organizations are eligible for EU funding on an exceptional basis. Now, what does that mean, exceptional basis? The basic rule for eligibility on an exceptional basis is that a project would not be able to be implemented, cannot be realized, cannot be done, unless this particular organization is part of the consortium. That is one way of explaining this rule. To make it illustrative, to make it understandable, I tried to give you 2 examples. They may be a bit funny, but they make it easily understandable. If there is a research project, we've had such a case, as a matter of fact, if there is a research project which looks at the genealogy of woolly mammoths, then you can assume that this project will need access to the DNA of woolly mammoths. Now, as far as I know, there are only very few institutes in the world, and they are placed in St. Petersburg and in Novosibirsk, that have plenty of DNA of woolly mammoth biological material. So it is relatively easy to demonstrate that a project that deals with the genealogy of woolly mammoths will need, as a partner, an institute from Russia, probably from St. Petersburg or from Novosibirsk, in order to be able to have access to the DNA of woolly mammoths. Another example, which makes it easily understandable, is if a project deals with a specific region, a geographic region, a specific territory, and it needs access to certain data relating to that territory. These data may be environmental, ecological data. These data may be socioeconomic data. Then you could expect that you need a partner from that particular territory, or from the country, that a partner from the country in which the territory is located, so as to have access to the particular data that the project needs. So this is what's meant by an action, a research action, not being possible to be implemented unless that partner brings specific scientific or other expertise to the project. And we have actually had quite a number of cases in Horizon 2020, in which partners from Russia were granted exceptional funding by the European Union. The other element in this, of course, in the big picture, is the domestic sources which are available in the Russian Federation to fund the participation of entities from Russia in Horizon 2020 in the past, Horizon Europe actions in the future. Primarily, of course, the co-funding calls for proposals which the Ministry of Science and Education has on a regular basis conducted in recent years, and which we were very pleased to hear the Ministry of Science and Education intends to continue in the future. There are also other domestic sources about which our colleague Irina Kuklina will talk shortly. Another element which we would like to highlight is the fact that the evaluation and selection procedure of proposals that are being submitted to Horizon Europe, as has been the case in the past, will be evaluated by independent experts. The European Commission draws on a large database of potential experts that have various expertise. These are scientists, researchers, but also experts in related questions of technology development. This may be IPR specialists, this may be specialists in the area of industrial applications of technologies, in order to ensure a broad and equitable evaluation of the proposals. And we encourage suitably qualified individuals from across the world to register themselves in this database so that the European Commission can draw upon them when carrying out the evaluation and selection of proposals. And we, in particular, would like to encourage suitably qualified individuals from Russia to re-register themselves or to register themselves for the first time if they haven't done so in the past for Horizon Europe. Just a couple of words on Russian research funding organizations. We already European partnerships. We've had very good participation of Russian research funding organizations, primarily the Ministry of Science and Education, the Russian Academy of Sciences, the Russian Foundation for Basic
Richard, it looks like we lost you. Richard?
Yeah, Laurent, I think that there is a slight connection problem with Richard, but I think he's trying to relaunch the presentation. So if you can wait, you think we can wait a couple of minutes for Richard to continue.
Or maybe we can have one of the testimonial at this stage, because the last part of the presentation is more about the practical guidance on how to participate, where to find information, how to build a proposal. Yeah. So it also will give Richard some time to maybe drink a glass of water. Are you back, Richard?
I seem to have lost my connection for a while.
Yes, you were with the ARANETs when it cut.
Okay.
Maybe we can ask one of our testimonial at this stage, while you, unless you can start again immediately.
I'll try to. I saw I had a short. I just noticed I had a short internet interruption. Let me please try to reconnect immediately.
While you are reconnecting, I will just answer online just a couple of questions that we had. First of all,
yes, please.
About the presentations and the links. We can confirm that presentation and the links will be available so that you will be able to see this at any other time and review for yourself the knowledge about any parts of the presentations that you are interested in. The other question was about questions and answers. we have different ways of asking a question. You can do this either in the chat, you can do it in the YouTube chat. And there is also another chat for those who are within the Zoom connection. So there are three means of communication. So please feel free to ask any questions while the speakers are introducing and telling themselves, because they will have a chance to answer later on. Richard?
Yes, yes, I'm still with you. I'm trying to reload the presentation.
We also have some questions coming from the YouTube channel, and we're uploading them directly to the chat. So if Loran and Ina can have a look there, we can also take a few questions more.
Yeah, we can. I can see already two of them. First question: does Open Research Publishing Platform intends to be a place for scientific publications and papers, or just for project reports, or for something different? That's one question we have.
Can you read out this question once more, please?
Yes, I can. Does Open Research Publishing Platform intends to be a place for scientific publications and papers, or just for project reports, or something different?
It is a platform for publications. It is a platform for the scientific publications which arise from Horizon Europe funded projects. So it is indeed a platform for scientific publications, because the project reports are internal reports which by the consortium are submitted to the European Commission project office. They are not to be publicly uploaded, of course.
Thank you. And another question was about the political science, which of the programs the political science can take place, in which of the pillars. But I think let's try. So for the political science, I guess colleagues will have to look at the calls.
Yes, now that's a good question, and I think I would like to give two answers to that. Maybe we should take time a little bit to answer some of the questions, because that also helps me to be selective about the rest of my presentation. I should like to say the following: we do not have the time to go through the entire presentation. We will make the presentation materials available, of course, online, so that they can be used later on and accessed. I think probably better now to concentrate on selecting those parts of the presentation which are obviously of interest as a function of the questions that have been posed. Political science or any other specific area, I think two things are to be kept in mind. As you have seen, much of the program is in essence or requires or expects multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary efforts to address major societal or global questions that are related to technology development. So the basic experience has been that much of the program that's being implemented through the projects and initiatives that are being funded take place in an interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary effort. That's one thing I'd like to say. The other thing I'd like to say is that there are of course parts of the program which have a clear thematic focus. Pillar 2, addressing global challenges, has a part of the program, I'll show a slide a little bit later, which is about the analysis of and support to the democratic development of the European Union and other parts of the world. And here political science is going to be key. The grants that are offered by the European Research Council and also by the Marie Skłodowska Scientific Mobility Actions also have no a priori thematic limitation. So any kind of thematic area is welcome to apply. With this, I can return back to the presentation if that is.
Yes, please do.
Yeah, then I'll try to share the screen once more, and I'll come back to this. We wanted to get rid of the I'll skip some of them. I wanted to come here. The basic procedure is, as has been the case in the past, to first find an opportunity in the program that is scanning the calls that will be published on a regular basis. Here, we would like to pay tribute to and pay attention to the good work that is being done by the national contact points, both in Russia and the European Union, whose job it is to regularly inform, provide information about, and provide explanations about the different opportunities for participation in the program that exist. In most cases, you will want to find a partner or a consortium, a group of partners with which you can construct a proposal. Then the organization will have to create a user profile, an account in the online application tools of Horizon Europe. The organization has to be registered in the database of the European Union to be captured in the online systems. Then this proposal has to be developed and submitted. And depending on the country in which the organization is based, funding can be expected either from the European Union or, in the case of Russia, in most cases, will have to be solicited from domestic sources. I won't spend much time on explaining the ins and outs of the electronically based funding portal. It is very self-explanatory about, in terms of funding, in terms of finding funding opportunities and calls for proposals. It includes a relatively finely granulated description of the different elements of the program and the thematic areas into which it is divided. For instance, if we look at the pillar structure of the program on the portal, you will see that the first pillar, Excellent Science, is subdivided into the European Research Council, the risk-adoption actions, research infrastructures. Pillar 2, the global challenges in European industrial competitiveness, is subdivided into the thematic clusters. It's called the clusters of Pillar 2. And here, for instance, in the program Civil Security for Society, but also surely digital industry and space, culture, creativity, inclusive society, political science, political scientists will surely find their place. And Pillar 4 is again subdivided into different parts of the program. The rest of the access portal, as I said, is relatively self-explanatory in terms of its access and use. A couple of words I'd like to say on the award criteria as part of the evaluation and selection procedure. As you can imagine, with the program being very large, both in terms of its reach and in terms of its financial envelope, talking about almost 100 billion euros, and in view of the fact that the program has many owners if you like, owners in inverted commas, that is the European Union and the European Union member states and the countries that are associated financially and legally with the program, that is those who make a financial contribution to the program. They watch very carefully, of course, how the program is being implemented and how projects are being selected. So, of course, as for any publicly funded program, the evaluation and selection procedure is really the most important, one of the most important key feature and the holy cow in inverted commas of the program. This also explains why the European Commission takes great care in ensuring that its database of independent experts on whose expertise it can draw for the evaluation selection of procedures is regularly updated and is as broadly based as possible. Hence our repeated invitation to Russian experts and scientists to register themselves so that we can also draw on their expertise and their experience when putting together the group of evaluators who is going to look at the submitted proposals. For the research and innovation actions, and coordination support actions and other such proposals, they will be evaluated by experts on the basis of essentially 3 award criteria. Excellence, in other words, scientific quality of the proposed action, impact, that is the expected outcome and impact of the proposed action, and quality and efficiency of the implementation, which used to be called the management aspects of the action. In other words, quality, impact, and how realistically the action is structured in order to be implementable. As has been the practice in the past, each of these 3 criterion will be awarded a score of 1 to 5, and you need to have at least a score of 3 for each of the criteria in order to be eligible for further evaluation. But you also have to have a minimum score of 10. So you have to have at least 3 on each, but at least 4 on one of them. That is the basic approach of the evaluation system in Horizon Europe. The criteria, without wanting to go into too much detail, differ a little bit for different parts of the program, such as for the Innovation Council, for the Marie Skłodowska actions, but also for the European Research Council, reflecting the different weight that is being given to some aspects of actions under the specific part of the program. For instance, for the European Research Council, the sole criterion is scientific excellence. In the European Innovation Council, much consideration will be given to the impact of the proposed action.
Richard?
Yes?
In the interest of time, because we have a few more presentations to come, maybe you can go to the end towards the one slide on Erasmus, because we'll probably get a question Erasmus, mention the highlights of Erasmus, and then as the rest of the presentation is a bit more detailed, we can leave it online, people to check, and then continue and leave some time for the discussion at the end. If it's okay for you, do you want to do that, to mention the Erasmus at this stage?
That's fine for me. Yes, no problem. We can do that. 1 second, I'm trying to reshare my screen. Yes.
It's toward the end.
Yes, I have it already. I hope you can see it.
Yes.
Yeah, but then I have to go back to the end. It doesn't do what I wanted to do. Here we go. Here it was. And I think I need to, Russian participants in Erasmus Plus. A related program, Erasmus Plus, the continuation of Erasmus Plus of the previous financial period, the program in the area of higher education, academic cooperation, but also vocational education and training, in which Russian academic institutions, universities, have traditionally very strongly participated. We have also seen, by the way, addressing the question of how to participate in Horizon Europe, we've also seen a tendency whereby many Russian universities and universities from other parts of the world, incidentally, have used the strong links they've been able to build thanks to cooperation in Erasmus Plus or bilateral similar academic cooperation programs at the level of the EU member states, in order to lift themselves into projects of the European Framework Program Horizon 2020 and Horizon Europe, and we expect that tendency to continue in the future. The Erasmus Plus program will continue all the elements which it has offered in the past for student and staff exchange, for capacity building in higher education, and importantly, the part of Erasmus Plus which is dedicated to vocational education and training, that is professional skills, will be more open to participation from of third country partners, including from the Russian Federation, than it has been in the past. So that is one element of the program that we'd like to draw attention to. The Russian organizations, Russian universities have also very strongly participated in the Jean Monnet activities, and we hope that this will continue to be the case in the future. A particularly strong element of cooperation between European universities and Russian universities was in the area of individual student and staff mobility, where the Russian Federation is actually the single largest participant of the program worldwide, and we call upon you to continue your interest in this part of the program as well. So what we want to stress is the continued existence of opportunities for cooperation with European universities and the complementarity of the through the Erasmus Plus program and the continued complementarity of the Erasmus Plus program with the European Framework Program for Research and Innovation, Horizon Europe. The two programs will be implemented in parallel in Russia. Support will continue to be offered by the National Erasmus Plus office in Russia, with which we also work very closely. If I understand correctly, Noah, then perhaps we should break here.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it would be a good time to make a break and maybe now listen to the two testimonials who will give experience from colleagues who have been part of the proposals, and they can share with other viewers their experience and give some tips for others how to best participate in this process. But Irina, would you like to introduce maybe our first testimonial?
Thank you, with great pleasure, and I think thank you, Richard, for this very detailed presentation. I think that's exactly answering most of the questions that our participants have today. I would like to introduce Dr. Pavel Krasilnikov, who is acting Dean of the Faculty of Soil Science of the Moscow State University named after Lomonosov. Pavel, the floor is yours, and congratulations with the very well-performed project.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you very much for introducing me, and I have my pleasure to share some experiences in participating in a project financed by the European Commission in the frames of Horizon 2020. And the name of this project was CERCASA, coordination of international research cooperation on soil carbon sequestration in agriculture. Well, we all know that soil carbon and soil health are, in fact, it's a priority area for the international science, and it is one of the mission areas for Horizon Europe as well. And it was a fantastic experience for us to participate in this project. The project, well, had several goals, and the main goal was to develop international synergies concerning the research and knowledge transfer on agricultural soil carbon sequestration. And it was a multilateral project aimed mainly on the creation of a network. Some of the partners were well-known colleagues for us, but also we got many other contacts. And in this respect, the project was really a very useful experience for us. The first specific objective of this project was to strengthen the international research community on soil carbon sequestration. The other was to improve our understanding of agricultural soil carbon sequestration and its potential for climate change mitigation and adaptation. Then to co-design a strategic research agenda with stakeholders on soil carbon sequestration and agriculture. And the last but not the least, to create an international research consortium, which is, I expect, will be launched very soon. Well, I told that it was a multilateral project, and here you can see the logos of the participants of this project, not only from the European Union, but also from Brazil, from China, from Australia, from the United States, many international institutions from CGIAR, for example, and also Moscow State University is among the participants of this project. The participation in this project was a fantastic experience by itself, but fortunately the Ministry of Science and Higher Education also supported our contribution. We participated in all the components on this project, in the creation of online collaborative platform, in contributed to knowledge system matchmaking, communication outreach, better structurization of international cooperation, and so on. But also, the project we implemented in Russia specifically was a little bit more, to say, specific, pragmatic, because the project had a different name. It was management of atmospheric carbon sequestration in arable soils of Russia. And apart from the objectives of Circasa project, we had also to create some innovative products. In the frames of this project, we developed a modeling tool that helps their stakeholders to assess the potential carbon sequestration in their soils. Sorry. Where is my presentation?
We still see it.
Okay. I don't.
You cannot move to the last slide.
Let me try once more. Sorry. Well, I'll better just.
I can share it if you like.
Yep.
Sorry. Oh yes, it works.
Oh, perfect.
Okay.
Perfect.
At the first phase of the project, we had applied retrospective modeling using the data obtained in long-term experiments, agrochemical experiments in different parts of Russia. We have a network of these experimental stations, and the information was used to run the models based mainly on Rothamsted's well-known Rothamsted model for carbon cycle in agricultural soils. And we applied their existing data to verify the model. After that, this model was applied on the second phase of the project for predictive modeling. And we ran this model for different climatic scenarios for the period up to 2019. We got the results that predicted the accumulation of carbon and carbon sequestration in agricultural soils in different parts of Russian Federation. Our results showed that under RCP 8.5 scenario, the emission was high, and practically we couldn't find carbon sequestration in any of the soils. However, under the scenario RCP 4.5, in many cases, the application of high doses of organic fertilizers and mineral fertilizers and crop rotation techniques, we managed to reach carbon accumulation in soils. And the tools we developed for the users and for the farmers who are planning their activities and expect not only high crops, but also carbon sequestration in their soils, and that they can develop an agricultural carbon project. They can use this tool exactly for planning the best practices for the development for planning their activities. Thus, in the frames of the joint project CERCASA, we also developed a sub-project that produced some practical results and made a successful report, both together with our partners in European Union and also for the Ministry of Science and Higher Education. I think this experience was very useful, both for us and also for our partners, because we see that under the same umbrella, we developed a set of activities, and this set of activities produced useful and even some practical results. Sorry, again. Sorry. No, I think I'll better say thank you for your attention myself, because the presentation stopped.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Krasinnikov. I think that was a very good example of the added value for Russian participants to be part of this international consortium funded by the EU program, which are not just EU, which are international, and as you are able to also cooperate with colleagues from China, Brazil, Africa, and so on. So we wish you best luck for this International Research Consortium, which is now being established, and hope that you will be able to participate in the future mission on soil health and food, which is under preparation. Viewers are obviously invited to ask questions to Dr. Krasinnikov if they wish. Not so much on the research itself, but on the ways he established the links with international partners, took part in the proposal, and so on and so on. And I would like to turn to Dr. Bobilev, who is our second testimonial. he will speak not just about one project, because he's a long experience in working with framework program, not just Horizon 2020, but even before that, and until the very end of Horizon 2020. So, Dr. Bobilev, the floor is yours.
Just a moment, please. I tried to share my screen.
If you have difficulties, maybe one of our colleagues could upload it because we received it.
Yes, probably it would be better if I would like Olga to show my slides.
Okay, just give us a second. So sorry.
So it's coming. You can start speaking if you wish, without the slides.
May I see the slides myself?
Well, you will see them on the screen as soon as we're able to upload them.
Okay.
I think it will take just a couple of minutes. There was while we're waiting for the slides, I can read another question that we had. Can you give examples of good consortia? Actually, these two presentations, both for Dr. Pavel Krasilnikov and Dr. Leonid Burilov, these are good examples of large and very profound consortia. It's saying I'm particularly interested in the range of countries that can make up an eligible consortium, e.g. Russia plus one EU country plus USA. I have to tell that you need to look at the necessary numbers of EU countries or EU member countries and participants of Horizon and associated countries to Horizon Europe to participate, and there should be at least 3 of them. So with this direction that you said, it will be at least 1 Russia, 3 EU and associated countries, member states, and 1 USA. Yeah, the presentation is here. Dr. Mobilov, the floor is yours.
I think, Marina, you can move to the second slide.
So let me start. Yes, good morning once more, and thank you very much for the opportunity to share our experience in participation in EU framework programs, notably Horizon 2020. Nansen International Center in St. Petersburg has a long-lasting broad experience of participation in European Union framework programs, starting from FP5 to Horizon 2020, illustrated by this list of appropriate projects. Next slide, please. Concerning FP7 program, the most important project for us was Europa's European Russian Center for Cooperation in the Arctic and Subarctic Environment and Climate Research, implemented during 2012-2015. Eurocas was aimed at the use of the Nansen Center established in St. Petersburg by the institutions from Norway, Germany, and Russia as the joint research facility to expand, consolidate, and strengthen scientific cooperation between researchers from EU member states and associated countries from one side and from Russia from another side. on the climate and environmental changes in the Arctic and subarctic in the 21st century. Our Nansen Center coordinated this project. That was first time when a Russian institution coordinated European Union project. Other partners were institutions, here you see the list, from Austria, Finland, France, Germany, Norway, Sweden, and UK. Next slide, please. The structure and topics of Europa's project are shown at this plot. Within the work package 2, the project partners strengthened and coordinated cooperation in 6 research topics listed under this WP: Arctic change, climate change in the Arctic and subarctic, ice and snow, polar loss, Arctic and subarctic marine and lake ecosystems, permafrost dynamics, and hydrological modeling, and also socioeconomic impact of climate change. WP3 aimed at the improvement of, WP3 aimed at the improvement of NICE research infrastructure. Within work package 4, partners have prepared and submitted several joint projects for security and cooperation beyond the Europas. Under WP5, we organized and held in summer 2014 the summer school in St. Petersburg on the land hydrology and cryosphere of the Arctic and Northern Eurasia in the changing climate. And WP6 was dedicated to opening Nansen Center institutional arrangements to additional partners. Exactly within this work package, we developed the special instrument for involvement of other institutions to NICE activities, so-called associated partnership. Next, please. The next important EU FP7 project for us was SWORD, Ships and Waves Reaching Polar Regions. It was the first EU project where we received the subsidy from Russian Federation Ministry of Science and Higher Education in the framework of new mechanism used by the ministry to support participation of Russian teams in EU projects after you stopped in 2014 to give financial contributions to Russian institutions. The overall objective of SWORD was to extend operational downstream services, supporting marine transport safety in the marginal ice zone. It was realized in the SWORD monitoring and forecasting system shown at this table. Next slide, please. Next slide. You may show next slide. Yes, thank you. NICE's contribution to SWORD was the development of sea ice monitoring forecasting system as a subsystem of the general system. It is based on the satellite data, notably synthetic aperture radar images and algorithms of sea ice type classification and sea ice drift estimation developed at the Nansen Center. We have patented our sea ice monitoring forecasting system. As an example of products and services we developed within this project and provided by this system, satellite-derived sea map of high resolution for the Kara Sea on 14th of January 2017 is shown at this slide. Next, please. Concerning Horizon 2020 program, our St. Petersburg Nansen Center participated in the project Antares, an integrated Arctic observation system. This is a big project, one of 9 projects forming the EU Arctic cluster. It is coordinated by the Nansen Center in Bergen, Norway, one of our founders. I would say our major founder, with Professor Stein Sandven as coordinator. The overall objective of Antares is to build an efficient integrated Arctic observation system by extending, improving, and unifying existing systems in the different regions of the Arctic. Next. which participated in Antares due to the subsidy, again, the subsidy of Russian Ministry of Science and Higher Education. According to the agreement with the ministry, the goal of the Russian part of Antares was to provide Russian Federation Authority, organization, industry, and other stakeholders with the quality information on hydrometeorological, oceanographic, and sea ice parameters in the Arctic by means of creating integrated Arctic observation system jointly with our partners from Antares Consortium. There were 3 participants from the Russian side, Russian Institute of Hydrometeorological Information World Data Center from Obninsk. It was coordinator of Russian part, Nansen International Environmental and Remote Science Center. This is our center in St. Petersburg, and also the biggest Russian Polar Institute, Research Institute Arctic and Antarctic Research Institute in St. Petersburg. Next, please. One of the activities performed by the Nansen Center within Antares was development of new satellite-derived information resources. As an example of such resources, the created polar law climatology of the North Atlantic over the period 2015-2017 is shown on this slide. You see here the tracks of individual polar laws, and circles represent locations of the first observation of a given polar loss. Next, please. And finally, Nansen Center now is a partner of the new Horizon 2020 project POLAR-S, polar regions in the Earth system. And this is quite big multilateral project, and it officially will start in September this year. Its overall objective is to improve understanding of local regional scale processes that underlie ocean atmosphere ice interactions in the Arctic and Antarctic, the response to and influence on a range of storylines of future changes in atmospheric and ocean circulation. Hopefully, the Russian Minister of Science and Education, as we knew today, will issue a special call to support by subsidies the Russian teams participated in this new Horizon 2020 project like POLAR-S. So the last slide. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Laurent, we cannot see you right now.
Yes, thank you very much. And I was thanking Dr. Bobilev for a very informative presentation. And I think it comes clear from the presentations that those consortium are quite broad and large in numbers, often 50 to 20 partners. So we have a minimum requirement of 3, but in practice, those consortia are much bigger with a clear distribution of the work between the different partners, as was shown in some of these projects with the work packages. So thank you again very much for these concrete examples. And I would like now to turn to Irina for a presentation of the plans by the Ministry of Science and Higher Education on how to support, as we heard from Dr. Bobilev, he received several times a grant to support his participation in the project. That usually comes after the project is selected, not before. I think that was another question on that. But if you could maybe tell us more, Irina, please.
Thank you. Thank you. Just sharing my screen. And let me start my presentation by saying a few words about the, I think that if I do, by bringing an examples of how it was previously in the previous Horizon 2020, which is still going on with some of the projects, and that will be a good example of moving from one program to another. As you know, I was talking about Horizon 2020 in 2014-2020. At the same time, we had Russian program, federal funded program, research and development in priority areas for Russia from 2014 to 2020. It has been extended to 2021 to complete some of the projects due to the pandemic situation. And so the main mechanism for the support of most of the project was this program operated by the Ministry for Science and Higher Education of the Russian Federation. But I have to say that that was not the only one, since we had support for the project from the Russian Foundation for small, medium-sized enterprises, for the Innovation Foundation. There was also support from the Russian Foundation for Basic Research, as well as the Russian Science Foundation. Within the federal target program, from 2015 to 2020, there were organized 9 calls, overall resulted in the support for 53 projects. And towards the end of my presentation, I will tell about one more call, the 10th call, that is going to be announced in a couple of days, so that it will give more information about how to give some examples how the calls might look like for participation in Horizon Europe. The total budget that has been allocated to Russian participants was over 15 million euros, which is quite a significant amount. And as I was told, all of the consortium for participation has had many participants. So within those projects, partners from 54 countries overall were participating. And this project had a very impressive results. Almost 300 publications, more than 250 times use of research infrastructures, both in Russia, in different parts of Russia, and in Europe. 71 patents up to now that has been can be provided for the results of these projects, and which was very important, the good percentage of young researchers which has been participating in the projects. That includes a lot of areas, including transport and space, biotech, materials, biomed, ICT, health, and you can also see on the slide names of top 6 active Russian participants who received support from the ministry for participating in Horizon 2020. I think these are the institutes that you can definitely turn to get some advice how to participate in the European consortium, and they will be happy to share this with you. Wouldn't spend much time on these slides, but this answers some of the question about how the good consortium will look like, successful consortium. These are good success stories of among many of the participants that we had. The Europa 2024, that was for studying the outer space, and with an impressive 56 participants from 27 countries looking more for the basic and fundamental research, going to more practical and applied research in aircraft noise reduction technologies, in aerospace research with 25 participants from 9 countries. We've heard already about CIRCASA with a strong participation. We can go to the integrated Arctic observation system, again 41 participants from 21 countries, and Blue Action 40 participants from 17 countries, as well as mobility and training program, especially for photonics, for this area of research, with 45 participants from 22 countries. It gives you an overview and flavor that the majority of the projects, they are interdisciplinary, large-scale projects with quite a significant number of participants, with very distributed types of tasks to be carried out. In addition to this, I would like to raise your attention. I know that Richard has passed this slide. You will see a similar program on his slide as well. But it was very good point for participating in thematic Euronets. In Richard's presentation, you will see how this will be transformed for Horizon Europe. But we believe that this is one of the good examples of strong participation with Russia in manufacturing technologies and materials in Marionette projects, in animal diseases in the crowd, with the soil management, EGP soil, the extended call for proposals, external call for proposals, just has been announced on the April 29, so you can just even see the ongoing call. And Euronet Rus Plus, where 94 science and technology projects and 25 innovative projects, all of them had Russian participants. So I would like to pay your attention to the possibility of participating in similar programs and projects further on. Where to get some help with going? That was another question during the session today. We have 12 national contact points, which were officially reappointed in 2017, and they're still in place, active right now. You can also look at your field of science and your interest. For Marie Skłodowska unique questions, you can turn to the National Research University High School of Economics. For the questions on aeronautics and integrated transport, smartly integrated transport, you can turn to Żukowy Central Aerodynamic Institute. For the questions on food security and sustainable agriculture, you can turn to the Federal Research Center's Fundamental of Biotechnology of the Russian Academy of Sciences, and further on. All of them are quite interested in supporting and have years of experience working with the European consortium. Now coming back to the forthcoming days, the Russian Ministry for Science and Higher Education of the Russian Federation has now launched a new international program within the federal program, within the state program, Scientific and Technological Development of the Russian Federation. And starting from 2021, all the new joint calls and calls for support of European participation will be held within this program. The calls can be differed and look for the coordinated call. They will be specifically agreed between Russia and European Commission. We don't have them in 2021. They will be forthcoming. But there is a support for participation in general calls in those thematic priorities that selected by Russian science and technology strategies, and those topics that you will be able to select within the Horizon Europe calls. How to go there? You look for the interesting topics, you find your partners, you structure the project, you apply jointly for the EU calls, and you will see that calls by the Ministry of Science and Higher Education can be published simultaneously or following the EU calls. It depends on the time schedule that we need to make a decision, so that don't worry if you think that you already have been participating jointly and you don't know how to come further. Is it not too late? No, it will never be too late. You can apply for the call even when you already know that you've been successfully selected, your joint project have been successfully selected on the European Commission side. What will be the general call for implementing steps for the call implementation in Russia? You will see the full announcement. You have between 1 to 2 months for the submission of proposals, which is an average. It cannot be less than 1 month due to the regulation, which is used. But we try to extend it for more, like say about 2 months, can be even longer in some cases with the European Union programs and projects. We'll have the evaluation of proposals, internal or national, and then it will go to the publication of results. When you see the publication of results, and you will see yourself among the winners or selected projects. You'll go into the process of signing of national grant agreements and go to the project launch and implementation with the annual reporting. I think this is very necessary for you to understand that for Russia, you'll need to proceed with the annual reporting. You will need to bear this in mind in contacting the European partners, since in Europe you will mainly have, especially for long-term projects, you usually report every 1.5 years. What are the cost terms and evaluation criteria? The average grant will not exceed 15 million rubles per project. You bear in mind that sometimes you have several participants, and of course you will understand the level of participation with the European projects. Sometimes, and this will be very visible from the cooperation agreements with the European partners. This is the provision of the cooperation agreement with the European partners in the must for all those projects, and it will be visibly seen whether your task and your participation in the project is worth 1 million rubles or 3 million rubles or up to 15 million rubles. It also depends on the number of Russian participants within this project, because they will have to apply jointly within one project. The maximum duration is 36 months. For the new program, there is a good news that if your project will be longer, there is a possibility of prolongation up to another 24 months. So you can be on the safe side here. But first, you will start anyway for applying for 36 months within the existing call. And as usual, research organizations and higher education institutions are all allowed to participate in the calls, but not exclusively. Sometimes we have small and medium-sized high-tech companies which also are eligible for participation. And with regard to the evaluation criteria, they are not much different from the criteria with the European Commission expertise evaluation, but maybe have slightly different weight categories. Scientific and technical excellence is an important criteria, as always, for the research projects. You have the quality of the project, its relevance, and the significance and the impact that will be reached by the project is a very important criteria, in the same way as within the European Commission projects. And I would like to stress your attention on this particular criteria, since this is, I know from the experience of participating in the evaluation processes, that this is usually one of the difficult criteria on impact for the Russian participants in the European projects. Just to understand that as soon as you understand the criteria, it's easy to reach. And we have the expertise and the past working experience, and your scientific achievements in this area will be a very important point for the evaluation resolution. What will be the indicators of project implementation? I'm sure you all are familiar with that. We have the publications. They have to be indexed in Scopus and Web of Science for collection databases. We have the number of patents or patent applications that should be done within the project. And you have to make sure that the funding amount provided by the EU partners cannot be lower than what you apply for. But usually within the EU partners, it's much larger, since, as I mentioned, the participants can be several dozens from a dozen of countries. So inevitably, Russian participating will be much less than the overall funding for the consortium. The important part, we again stress the importance of young researchers participating in the project. We believe that participating of young researchers in the project will give the good set of further development of the project, and will allow the project and the collaborations, your connections, to go further in years which is extremely important for scientific research. So that will be an important part, important criteria to reach and achieved within the projects. As you can see on this slide, you have quite a number of eligible courses. They are various. They cover maximum what can be reached within the project, including the labor cost, the need for the necessary equipment, materials, other services that might be necessary, cost related to publication of scientific monographs, which was a question mark in the previous cases, but this also can be included. Again, involvement in implementation of the project results during conference and scientific seminars and symposium in the project area. But a very important point at the bottom of my slide, all costs have to be justified. This is the same as for the European Commission. So you cannot do just any cost, they have to be justified within the needs of the project. Any good news for those who have been participating in the last calls of Horizon 2020 and awaiting the support from the Russian Federation? A new call for proposals is to be launched, as I said, just within a couple of days. It will be already the first call within the state program Scientific and Technological Development of the Russian Federation, but it will sort of catch up the participants of the last Horizon 2020 calls. So for those projects that will still last until the years 2023, 2024. And by this, I will close my presentation. We're always at your disposal, and we'll be happy to answer any of the questions.
Well, thank you very much, Irina. That was very clear and comprehensive. And I've been through the list of questions that our colleagues were very kind to try to follow from the different chats in Zoom, in YouTube. And I think your presentation helped answer some of these questions, maybe not all. Some were very specific. There was a question on what is research infrastructures in our program? Is it a research center? And so is no. We mean by research infrastructures, research facility, where, for instance, the mega science projects in Russia. There are questions about whether people can participate in several projects. Yes, there is no limitation. You've seen also Dr. Bobilov, he was involved in many projects, no limitations on our side, as long as you have the resources, obviously, to participate in all these projects. There was a question on whether or not it's possible to join an ongoing projects. On our side, it's possible. Now, I will turn to Irina in terms of financing. If a Russian partner joins an ongoing project, is he or she eligible to submit an application afterwards? I will let you answer that specific question. There were also questions on the Marie Skłodowska-Curie actions. Will it be co-funded or not? We have this scheme called the IRCES. It used to be called IRCES. It's about staff exchange, and it's not just about mobility, it's also about research. And we have had many instances of those with Russian participants. I mean, are the Russian participants eligible to apply to your call if they are part of one of those Marie Skłodowska-Curie RISE called Research and Innovation Staff Exchange? A question again to you, Irina, and then I will turn to Richard if he wants to take any of the other questions and comment on them. But maybe I may start with Irina on those two.
Yeah, I will answer. Thank you. I will answer most of the questions. First of all, especially in this call that is forthcoming now, it is possible to join an EU project that is underway, yes. Since there is an official joining the consortium. Just for those that are familiar with the EU documentation, there is a Form A5, which is an official join of the consortium. There will be a need to have the official agreement of the consortia and of the European Commission for the joining the project. In case you have time for that, we recommend to form the A5 form. In case the time is limited for applying for the current form, then you can start with asking, contacting the consortium, getting the consortium agreement on the joining of the EU project, defining the particular work that will be carried out by the Russian partner, so that it will be complementary and not duplicating what is already happening in the project, and with a very reachable and clear results that will be achieved through the Russian participating in the project, and then having the official letter from the coordinator of consortium, the consortium coordinator, confirming that yes, Russian team, Russian organization has been invited to become an official partner of the consortium, or invited to join the consortium, and the project coordinator will need to write in the letter whether the official procedure within the European Commission has already completed, or it is underway and it has been submitted to the European Commission, since it might take longer time. So the letter of the consortium coordinator will be enough for applying for the form. So answer for the first question is yes. The question about the Marie Skłodowska-Curie, no, right now the Marie Skłodowska-Curie is not within the funding procedures from the Russian side. However, there are quite a number of other means for the higher education institutions within Russia to get support while participating in Marie Skłodowska-Curie activities. There are various means through the university programs and projects, and for that you can either, for example, for the universities within the program 5100, you can look and consider how you can incorporate your participation in Marie Skłodowska-Curie within this activity, because it will be very relevant to the 5100 program. You can also look at the other programs specifically dedicated to the universities, since the activities within the Marie Skłodowska-Curie match very well with these activities. Yeah, I think that will be, I will just maybe answer one more question that I can see on the screen about what will be the priority research areas for the EU-Russia cooperation. Currently, the EU priorities are listed in Horizon Europe, while the Russia's priorities you can see in the strategy for the development, for the S&T development for the Russian Federation. There is no other limitations in terms of the topics. We hope that the new consortium and the new programs will be very interdisciplinary, so we can apply there. And one more question from me. I think that our organization is a member of acting consortia, and they have another 36 months until the end of the consortium. Can they apply for the current call? Yes, exactly. This is the call for you, so you can apply for this call. Thank you, Laura. I think that maybe we can turn for some other questions to Richard, and then there will be, if there will be other questions.
Yes, thank you very much, Irina. So now I'm turning to Richard. If you want to pick up some of the questions which have not been answered yet, for which you would like.
Thank you. I'm looking at the questions that have come in the question and answer option, and also through the chat. I'll quickly go through them, if I may. Если я верно поняла Ричарда, возможность зарегистрироваться в качестве эксперта по оценке заявок на гранты «Горизонт Европы». Какова процедура регистрации для представителей российских вузов? The procedure is the same for everybody. There is a general database of potential experts, that is of individuals who register themselves as a function of their actual scientific or industrial or other technological expertise. And it doesn't matter what your institutional affiliation is. That's the general answer. Hello, under what conditions can Russian higher education students participate in Marie Curie joint PhD programs? Will the exceptional basis apply to, or co-fund will be possible? This is a question which Irina has just answered.
Yeah, Richard, I also think that we made, you also spoke about Erasmus in your program. And I think the Erasmus part also, that the higher education institutions has a very valuable possibilities. I mean, the possibilities for the higher education institutions are actually quite great. So don't be stuck only to the Marie Curie as an institution. You can look for that within the support of various higher education institutions programs, as I mentioned before, but also you can look, for example, for the Erasmus Plus program.
But Erasmus is only the joint master's degrees. So in that case, we can fund Russian university, which is part of a consortium. And on top of this, we provide a number of scholarships to individual students, which are selected by the program itself. Actually, we have 81 students which are going to leave this summer to follow different programs in Europe, and we will organize an event in August to help them prepare best before they move to Europe. But for the PhD, the joint PhD, which is the international training, innovation training networks, we have also examples of participating Russian universities or non-European universities. But the grants there for the PhDs are allocated by the different, by the consortium between the different universities. So there can be participation. Then it's a discussion between the participating organization who gets what in terms of grants for the individual PhDs, and it's an open selection. So it could be, again, a Russian student selected to do the PhD, but there's a mobility component, so it cannot be in Russia. It would be probably in one of the EU countries participating. Richard, on our other question, I think we've gone through most questions, unless there are new ones. That, yes, I see more questions coming.
Yeah. There is also a good question about how to find the partners.
Yes.
There is a question that from a person who didn't have any experience in participating present 2020, which deals with the mineral and technogenic raw materials in a high with a high silicon content. And he's asking how to find the partner, what will be the steps of procedures. And I think we need to also turn to the national contact points, both, I would say, in Russia and in Europe, but maybe you can give some other answers to that. And then another question is with regards to the research infrastructures.
Then you have a lot of questions on your future call, the call that is going to be published in a couple of days, but I would like to advise people to wait until it's published, because probably all the details will be in the various documentations attached to the call. There is a question, Irina, about other funding possibilities besides the call from the Ministry of Science and Higher Education, foundations. Can you comment on that?
First of all, I have to say that the information about the call will be on the website of the Ministry for Science and Higher Education. So that's the official publication of any calls. We can find them on the ministerial website. If several institutions are participating in one project, they will apply in one project proposal. And with regards to the other Russian foundations, with the Euronet RUS Plus, we had Russian Foundation for Basic Research participating, and they will continue support for the ongoing projects. With regards to the new projects, there is no direct call as such. However, with the participation in the European Consortium, in Horizon Europe, you will be able also to match the funding that you already get from those foundations with the activities you carry out within the European consortiums. So this will be your task to see how your ongoing activities can match, and you can apply independently to the calls and the Russian foundations. I think maybe the important difference is that within the ministerial call, you have to provide and show that you have the grant agreement, or in preparation of the grant agreement, to be in the joint consortium. That's a quite strong requirement. I think in terms of participating through the foundation, it's a bit easier because you can just apply for your own part of the project without getting into details what exactly the European partners will do. So it's, I would say sometimes it's even more difficult because to get to the ministerial part because of the strong requirements of the grant agreement consortium. And I think another question, I think I've answered that if we are already a member of consortium but without funding, can we apply for this additional funding? Yes, we can. But as I mentioned, the call that will be announced right now will be mainly for the research work. That means that there will be very few exceptions, which is the exception on Marie Curie, as we said, and all the mobility part, and also exception for the coordinated actions where you have the networking as the main result. All the other projects which have the research results can apply for this additional call. And the good question, I think, Richard, we can maybe answer is, please explain what is meant by the direction development of research infrastructure. Yeah, this is what you've had in your presentation. The person is asking, is the creation of research centers, or this is the mega science research infrastructure? Can you please say a few words on that?
Yeah, it is various things. It depends. I was going to answer also another question in this context, as a matter of fact, if I can. Yeah, I see. Please explain what is meant by the direction of development of research infrastructure. And I was also going to ask another question. I'm not sure whether you've already done that. It was about the example of good consortia. One person asked, can you give examples of good consortia? I'm particularly interested in the range of countries that can make up an eligible consortium. For instance, Russia plus one country plus USA. I'll take this question first, then I come quickly to the research infrastructure. The minimum participation requirements depend on the call. In general, there are two types of calls. Collaborative research or innovation actions usually require the participation of 3 different entities, 3 different organizations from 3 different member states of the European Union or countries that are associated with the framework program. And an organization such as from Russia or from the United States of America is very welcome to participate as an additional partner. But usually it's 3 minimum from EU or associated countries. The adequacy or the goodness of a consortium cannot be answered in general. It depends on the proposal. It depends on what you are proposing to do. And we've had consortia that are small in terms of organizations, just 3, not more than that, or they can be very large. We have had proposals or projects that encompass 45, 50 participants, especially in such areas such as aeronautics, civilian aviation technologies, where there's talk about, hardware development, really big projects with several dozens of millions of euro funded. It really depends on the research you're proposing to do. The consortium composition has to be adequate for what you are proposing to do. In those calls, which require only one organization to implement the project, that organization usually has to be from an EU member state or an associated country, and organization from, say, Russia or the United States is very welcome to participate as an additional partner. regarding research infrastructures, the development of research infrastructures, again, it's difficult to give a general answer. It depends on what the call for proposals expects you to do. There are some calls which are specifically intended to help with the exploitation of existing research facilities. These research infrastructure facilities may be distributed networks of databases. They may be an Arctic monitoring station. They may be a partnership of biological research laboratories. But these are a research infrastructure is typically a large-scale, single-sited or geographically distributed facility, which allows the access, use, and implementation of research work and the use of data on a repeated or ongoing basis. What exactly you are invited or able to do will depend on the call that is actually being announced. Often, the calls which are opened or announced in the context of the European Framework Program as a reflection of the multilateral nature of the European Framework Program. They try to enlarge the use or the use of existing facilities by networking them or by opening access to the facilities. If such calls are implemented or announced for partnership activities with countries outside the European Union, often a criterion is the mutual opening up of the facility, so as to provide access from research organizations or individual scientists from the partner country to the facilities that are located in the European Union, and vice versa. But it depends on the nature of the call.
Thank you very much, Richard. I think we have reached the end of this session. It's already 1 o'clock, and we were planning to finish before that.
Laurent,
yes,
is it possible?
yeah.
There is one question that will be a good example for one of the programs. There was a question about to what extent is the program interested in the issues of legal regulation of medical activities in the framework of interaction between the European Union and Russia. I think the program costs will be a good example where to apply with this issue, since the cost program, which was mentioned by Richard, has a very valuable levels of interaction activities and networking, and looking at the regulation issues, how they are done in Europe, and how to compare and how to learn from the regulations provided in European countries. So I think the program cost will be a good example to answer to this question. Yeah.
Thank you, Irina. And I would like to conclude by saying that, first of all, I'm very happy with all the rich exchanges which took place today. As we explained at the beginning, it's a very timely webinar because the calls will be published next week. And it's one of the first such events we are organizing, and probably the first one outside the EU, showing the importance for us to engage early on with the Russian research and innovation community. So we try to provide an overview of the program. As you see, there is a lot of continuity, same for Erasmus. There are few novelties, so that come on top, but a lot of the ways we used to work under the previous program will continue. So don't be too worried about understanding. What will be important is to look at the code themselves and the different topics for the parts which are top-down. The now clusters, we call them, the 6 clusters, which contains a number of what we call topics, which are where we allocate funding and where we create competition between consortia. And this is where you need to use your networks and see whether partners you work with in the EU are preparing proposals for which your added value can be of help for the European consortium. you've seen from the success rate data that proposals with Russian participants are doing best. So you come with a strong proposition, value proposition for the European consortium that they should be interested, and there is a mechanism to provide funding on top of what the consortium will bid for. So you are providing something quite attractive if you have both useful knowledge, expertise, complementary to what the European consortium can do, can propose, and you may also propose additional funding. So it's extremely interesting. So use all your contacts to see whether among the topics which are going to be open, your partners are preparing a proposal and whether they would like to invite you to be part of this. This is for the collaborative research. Then the mobility, the bottom-up, it is a different story because it's work more on a bottom-up basis. Basically, as for cost, you come and you identify a topic and you have partners from different countries interested to join, and they can just find the way to apply and not wait to find a topic to which they can submit a proposal towards. So this was a big task for Richard to try to explain such a complex program in such a limited time. I think he did great. I had to cut him because I was afraid we would have no time for questions. At the end of the presentation, we had a list of events which will take place these coming weeks. First of all, we have the EU RNI Days, which are taking place on the 23rd and 24th of June, next week, Wednesday, Thursday. There will be tens of thousands of people connecting for that. And I encourage scientists to look at the program and follow some of the sessions you may be interested in. We will also have a number of information days more targeted. For instance, for the health cluster, for people who are interested in health or biomedical research, will be one on the 2nd of July, I know. And it's easy to find this information. You just Google, for instance, Cluster Health Info Day, and you will find the link easily how to register. And there you will have more information about the different topics and what is expected. What are the expertise we are trying to combine, because most of these projects are multidisciplinary. So, and you can identify whether your own area of work could be of interest for such a proposal. So this is further information that you can find more detailed and more in line with your particular research interest. We will be keen, together with Irina and the ministry, to organize further events also when the calls will be fully published, either thematic or also maybe geographic, to go to certain cities and try to also meet physically, not like today, to answer questions directly face-to-face. We mentioned the compendium of programs that we just finalized, and we will try to put it online today. There you will find information not only on Horizon Europe and Erasmus, but also on the Russian programs and all the programs from the EU member states, all the bilateral programs to support the cooperation between, for instance, Germany and Russia, or between Finland and Russia. And there are quite a lot, both in the higher education and the research and innovation. So we have updated this. We have 16 countries which have provided information out of the 27, and we expect more to come when we renew the version later in the year. So with this, I think those are the main information I wanted to wrap up with. Again, many thanks to colleagues who helped follow the discussion and pick up the questions. I see Marina. Thanks to Marina. With that, do you want to add something, Marina, before we close? Or
yes, actually, I wanted to say a few last words. Может быть, я скажу на русском, кажется, наша основная аудитория на русском, и у нас есть перевод. Много коллег спрашивали про конкретные ссылки и конкретные веб-сайты, на которых можно найти информацию. Мы разошлем всем зарегистрированным участникам презентации, в которых обязательно убедимся, что вся информация есть, чтобы просто сейчас не занимать время в эфире тем, чтобы конкретные веб-сайты показывать. Вот. И если остались какие-то вопросы, то с того адреса, с которого вам приходили регистрационные письма, туда можно направить вопросы. Я обязательно все передам Лорану, Ирине и Ричарду, и обязательно на все вопросы ответим. Спасибо большое.
Thank you. And I also want to thank Laurent for this great moderator of the sessions, and thank you for the European Commission to organizing this event due in time, since everyone have heard a lot about Horizon Europe, but nobody knew how to deal with this, how it will look like. I think this is a great presentation from Richard. We look forward for the full presentation. Everyone will be looking forward to study this in details. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you also to Dr. Krasinilkov and Dr. Babilev, who accepted to give testimonial. This is very much appreciated. And I think I will also to thank all the participants and all the colleagues who asked questions. So we will try to redo this. And thanks again, Irina and Albina and colleagues from the ministry.
Thank you, and the interpreters.
And the interpreter, thank you very much. Dai, I don't see you, Dai.
And good luck with the projects.
Good luck to you all, and it's been very pleasant to see many of you again, at least through the scheme. Bye-bye. Good luck.
Oh, no recording anymore. I forgot about this. So thanks a lot, colleagues. That was good. Thanks, Irina. There was, I don't know how many people joined, because it just tells the Zoom. I don't know.
The biggest number was 320.
That's very good.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
So that was 320.